Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a really exciting video that I've been dying to do, but I was intimidated. It's a tier ranking video. I've never done a tier ranking video before. I've never screen recorded on my computer and then done a video, and I'm scared. I already had trouble with the tier ranking website because I loaded all my images in and I realized I forgot to, and I had to like redo the whole thing because there's no way to like just add a couple images. And then I went to put it in the actual like tier ranking screen, and all the books were scrambled from when I had uploaded them, so then I had to drag them into the right order, and then I was like, oh, there's a present button, and I clicked that. It undid all my work. So this has been a process. I'm super excited to do this though. I saw Riley do this, Riley Marie from January, I think, and I think she did it because Kayla from Books and Lala did it. I'm really excited. I've been on BookTube since 2015, so I have all my favorites from 2015 to 2020, so that is 6 years worth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not doing 2021 because that like just happened, and I feel like those would still be favorite books of mine. So I have 5 categories, the same exact ones Riley has. So I have all-time favorite, stand by it, need to reread, which I feel like most are going to be in this category, and then take it back and what was I thinking, which I don't know if I have anything in this category. What I think is funny though is that you can really tell I was reading all the books that are super popular on BookTok right now. I was reading all these authors 2015, 2016, and now they're really popular, so I was just a little bit ahead of the times. I also have noticed my taste has not changed too much, so I still read a ton of indie romances, and I'm really excited to get to this. So here is my screen. We'll see how I do editing wise. It's also making me super intimidated how to edit this, but all of these books are the ones that I have loved over the past 7 years, and I cannot wait. Like I said, I've been making BookTube videos since 2015. That's when I graduated from college, so I was reading all these right before I started my teaching job, and then that's how my reading has gone on my channel. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. These are all in order, and I will let you know what year they are from if I move my notebook over. So we're gonna start in 2015. How old was I in 2015? I was 22 at the beginning of I was 21 at the beginning of the year, and I turned 22 in 2015. So I'm a lot younger than I am now, and the first book, no surprise, is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. The first 2 books actually are The Deal and The Mistake. I've actually reread The Deal a couple years ago, and I don't think I would call it an all-time favorite. I enjoyed it, and it's a pretty good romance, but looking at like the rest of the books, I don't think it's an all-time favorite. I'm not saying like I hate it, but looking at my favorite books of all time, I don't think The Deal would be in my top favorites. It's a good book. I liked Hannah. I liked the guy whose name I can't even remember, but The Mistake, I can't even tell you the plot of this book. I would definitely need to reread The Mistake. There's no recollection of what this book is about at all. Now the score, which I see down over here, like that is one of my all-time favorites. I still vividly remember it. I still remember how super emotional that was and how obsessed I was with that book, but I can't even tell you who The Mistake was about. These are bringing back so many memories because I remember reading this book on the beach in Myrtle Beach. I had the library copy, I believe, or I had bought a used copy, and I remember reading this plus my Colleen Hoover love on vacation. And so Bad Romeo, I absolutely loved. This one I don't remember a lot about, but I think I'm gonna stand by this because it's about like 2 people at a performing arts school, and they really fall for each other, and I was obsessed with this book, and I think I would still like it now. So I need to read the second book because I never did. Also, you're gonna notice I never finished series. I say that all the time, but I literally never finished series. Never finished this series. I did finish the Off-Campus series, but there are so many series on here you will notice I started and never finished, even if they were all-time favorites. But Confess, I feel like I want to take it back. I love Colleen Hoover. I have a couple more of her books on here. I don't have any of her most popular ones on this list because they came out before Confess, and I was reading her books religiously since like 2012. So like Ugly Love was in 2014, I read that, and then Slammed, Hopeless, all of those were way before, but Confesses I feel like is not one that I loved. So I don't think I would call it an all-time favorite or like a favorite at all. So I'm going to take that back. And I feel like take that back sounds bad, but it's not under what was I thinking, because like I still enjoy the book, but it's not an all-time favorite. For Never Never, I don't know where I want to put this. I don't know. I don't think I would call this book like a favorite either. It was good. I really enjoyed the story, and it was super addicting because this was when they were released in parts. So they released part 1 together, Tarryn Fisher and Colleen Hoover, and then part 2 and then part 3, and now it's in a bind up, but I was reading it when they were releasing it in parts. And I remember the ending of this one and I was like, oh my gosh, like I was obsessed. And they woke up and they were like apparently like madly in love dating. I think they were in high school, but they couldn't remember each other and they couldn't remember their past. So very intriguing, but I wouldn't call it an all-time favorite anymore, or even really a favorite. One Tiny Lie. I was obsessed with K.A. Tucker. I was obsessed with 10 Tiny Breaths when that came out and when that was super popular. And this one was better than 10 Tiny Breaths. He was on the rowing team in college. She went to college and fell in love with him. That's all I remember about the plot, but one of my favorites. We'll go ahead and put Outlander to all-time fave. I don't think we need to discuss this. Again, I read that in 2015 and I've only made it through 2.5 books of the series because I cannot finish series to save my life. But I remember reading this in college, sitting in my college apartment and devouring it because I was obsessed with Outlander. And that's around, I think, the time when the show came out. And I was like halfway through season 1 of the show when I started the book. So like it was fun being able to read the first half and knowing what was happening and then being surprised by the second half. So I really did love that one. Whatever Life Throws at You. Oh my gosh. I think I'm gonna stand by it. I don't think, I would need to reread it to see if it's an all-time fave, but I don't want to put it in need to reread because I know it would still be a favorite. This is a baseball romance and she is the coach's daughter and he is a new baseball player. And it is so good. I have another baseball romance on here. I have a lot of sports romances on here actually. I'm just obsessed with them. That's one I feel like more people need to read because I love it. Me Before You. I'm going to take it back. I don't want to put it in What Was I Thinking because I was like I know what I was thinking. I was on the hype train. Everybody reading this book. I cried my eyes out, but I can acknowledge the problematic elements of this book, what it was doing, and I would not ever consider this a favorite anymore. So I know what I was thinking, but I would not call it a favorite. So I'm going to take that back. Scoring Wilder is still a stand by it. I love this book. This is still, okay, this is the last book of 2015. I forgot I have to look at my years. So this was 7 years ago. R.S. Gray is doing really well right now, but I was obsessed with her books back 7 years ago, and I don't love them anymore. But this one was such a good, kind of like Holty. It is a coach-athlete romance. I would love to reread this at some point, but I know I love it, so I don't need to reread it to know that I love it. This was just so good. I might just like do a reading vlog video of rereading my Stand By It books to see if they're all-time favorites because I don't need to reread these to know I love them. It was just so good. I loved it. You guys need to read it if you haven't yet. Now we're getting into 2016. So this is when I started getting ARCs. I started my blog in 2015 and I started getting books from publishers. Specifically, one of the publishers I worked with was Berkley. I still work with Berkley. I absolutely love them and they were the first publishing company that had worked for me, so a lot of my books are going to be Berkley romances. So On Broken Wings, I would need to reread. I was obsessed with the series, and this one is Chanel Clayton, and she ended up going really popular with her Last Year in Havana and like all the historical fiction books she writes. She wrote this series first, and it was so good. I love them, but book 3, I believe the heroine ended up losing her husband in the series because you knew the hero of book 3 was pining after her, but she was married, and her husband died, and so this was their book. I cannot tell you anything about the plot though, so I would definitely need to reread this to know if I still loved it, but I remember it being absolutely heartbreaking. Another book I'd have to reread is The Last Mile by Katie Ashley. What's funny about this series, this is book 3, just like On Broken Wings. This is a motorcycle romance, and it was my very first motorcycle romance. Katie Ashley introduced me to motorcycle romances. I saw her, I think, in 2017 or 2018 at a signing, and I told her that. I was like, you're amazing. You ignited my love for motorcycle romances. But again, could not tell you a single thing about the plot. So I would need to reread this one, but I really enjoyed it. I'm nervous to put anything else in all-time faves because I'm like, I don't know if I would call it all-time fave, but Price of a Kiss by Linda Cage, definitely stand by it. Someone actually just commented on one of my videos the other day because they have been following me since 2016. Let me know how long you've been following me. Were you around when I was reading these books? Because that's a long time. Price of a Kiss is so good. It's new adult. He is a gigolo, so he is in the sex industry, working for money for specific reasons, specifically to support his family, and they fall in love on campus, and it is just so good. The whole series is great. I've only read the first 3 or 4, and I loved every single one of them, so definitely stand by this one. The Sun is Also a Star. I have a couple YA in here, and this one I just like, it was good, but like I would not at all consider it a favorite, and I don't know if that's because I am 28 now, so I really have evolved out of YA and don't really care about it anymore. And if I reread this, I'd say like, well, that's a good book, but definitely not a favorite anymore. I don't know where to put these next books. When I read them, they were everything. I was trash for this series. I loved it, but I don't know. I couldn't. Maybe I need to reread these. I couldn't even tell you if I would love them or not anymore. I don't know. I don't think I can say I stand by them because they were just like a soap opera that you ate up like candy. Like they were so addicting, and I'm surprised BookTok has not discovered this series yet because they've discovered the Off-Campus series and gone crazy over it. But I was reading these when they came out and I was obsessed, and it's Elle Kennedy and Jen Frederick, I think, writing that together, and these were just amazing. The next one, Furious Rush. I don't know. Maybe I would need to reread it. I remember reading this with my family. I believe I was reading the second book when I was in Nashville. I remember like specific memories of where I was when I was reading these books. So it wasn't Furious Rush. I believe I was reading book 2 when I was on vacation in Nashville with my family. But I loved this one because it was a guy and a girl who were on competing like motocross teams, like motorbike racing, and they fell in love, and it was just so good. But I don't know if I would love it still. This is one I would definitely have to reread. Another one I need to reread because I don't remember a single thing about this plot. I have a bad memory. I don't remember books I read last year, let alone, what are we in, 2016? 6 years ago? Rookie Moves by Serena Bowen. So if you know like Brooklyn Air and all of her self-published sports romances, this was the first book, and it was actually traditionally published by Berkley. So I loved this series. I devoured all 3 books. Apparently I really loved book 1, but I don't know the plot of this book, so I would definitely need to reread it. We're just gonna pop this here. I was reading A Court of Mist and Fury in 2016 before A Court of Wings and Ruin came out. I feel like I wasn't an original Sarah J Maas fan, but I was pretty early on in her craze, and BookTok has discovered it, but I love that book. I stand by it, one of my favorites. It Ends With Us, again, one of my absolute favorite books of all time. I've reread it before. Stand by that. I'm obsessed with that. Nowhere But Here, I want to put and stand by it. This is one of the YA books I will stand by. It is a motorcycle romance. I have the entire series. I only read book 1, but I loved it so much and don't remember too much about the plot, but I did reread it recently-ish, like 4 years ago with my students at book club, and it was really good, and I remember still loving it. So it's a YA motorcycle romance, and it was really good. Bully. Okay, so this is where I discovered my love for Penelope Douglas. Their books are amazing, and I have a bazillion of their books on here, but Bully I did reread recently, and I just still really love Bully. New adult books, I don't think I would like absolutely love anymore, but because I'm kind of also outgrowing new adult, but this book was just so good. The Score, I don't know if I can put it in all-time favorite because I don't know. I don't think I can put it in all-time favorite, but I still stand by it. I loved The Score in this entire book, and I can't even remember the characters' names at the moment, but I remember plot points and my heart being broken and me being obsessed with these characters, and this was my favorite of the series. Notice book 4 is not on any of my lists because I did not like book 4. It's a secret baby trope, surprise baby trope, did not like it. It Ain't Me, Babe. Oh, okay. So again, it's like, I don't think I'm between stand by it and all-time fave, but I'd have to reread it to call it an all-time fave, but I know I stand by it. So I'm gonna put it in this one because I'm officially gonna if I do a reading vlog, it's gonna be the stand by it books just to see if they're all-time favorites. So this one, I read this first book we're at 2017 now, actually. So this is the first book of 2017, and this one I read 5 years ago, and I never continued the series because I'm annoying, even though I was obsessed and I loved it. But I still know that I loved it, and I really want to continue on the series, so I'll put it there. On the Island. I don't know. This is one I'd have to reread. I remember the plot of this one actually because she is a teacher and she is like flying somewhere with her student who missed a lot of school because he had cancer, I think, and then they crash land on an island together. They're the only 2 survivors, and they live on there for years and then fall in love like years after when he's like 19, I think. So I would have to reread it. I don't remember how I felt about the book. I do. I don't know. I just like, this is so hard. I don't know. I really enjoy this one actually. I think I'll move it to Stand By It. Because now I remember like when they got off the island, everything they had to deal with. I really love this book. It was really good. So I'll just move it there. King is one I have to reread. This series I absolutely loved because of, it's like King, oh, what was his name? He wore bow ties. Preppy and Bear, and I loved the series. I never continued on, but I would have to reread this one. I remember where I was reading this book. I was on a plane visiting Sarah, and I went to a signing, got to meet T.M. Fraser in 2017. Wow, that was 2017? Okay, it was then when I went to Florida. This was a long time ago. I've had a very long reading career, but I need to reread it. I don't remember my feelings about the book as I was reading it, if it would hold up today. So, Misbehaved. I'm just gonna say now, this is a student-teacher romance, and I would definitely not be okay reading it now. I enjoyed it when I read it in 2017. I really loved Charlie Rose when I discovered them, and Charlie Rose though has not been writing that much lately, and she wrote like Bad Habit and Bad Intentions, and those were pretty good. This one, I think it would just make me too uncomfortable reading today. I cannot do student-teacher romances anymore. A Love Letter to Whiskey. I actually am gonna reread this, but I think it's still an all-time favorite. I'm gonna reread it soon. I got the special edition of it. I read it in 2017. I was a Candy Steiner fangirl in 2017. I was reading the PSU series, the Palm Sauce University. I read this. I read Waitlist. I read so many of her books, and then 2018 I have another book on there. I loved her. I need to read more of her current books because I've read a few in a row that I wasn't the biggest fan of, so then I kind of stepped away for a little bit. I do want to read more from her, and I need to reread Love Letter to Whiskey, but that's definitely something I loved. Punk 57 I'm gonna need to reread. This is one where I think I might have aged out of liking it. So I was obsessed with this book when I read it. It was like all-time favorite, no question, and I reread it I think I reread a year later, and I absolutely loved it again. Granted, this is 2017, 2018, and now reading about students in high school and like it blowing up and hearing sides of people who loved it and people who didn't, I don't know if I would love it anymore. So this is one I'd have to reread to see if I would love it still. The Next Flame, I don't think this is an all-time favorite. I really love this series. I have 3 Douglas books in a row. And this one was the short stories, and I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I would consider it a favorite, especially in that series. Corrupt, I can't call Corrupt an all-time favorite, but I do stand by it. I love Corrupt. I love the series. I love Kai's book the best. The series is just so good. Book 4 was a little bit of a letdown, but I really loved this book as well, and it made me really obsessed with more dark romances. If you see in 2017, I really did delve into darker romances, so I still stand by this one. The Hookup, I should reread, but I'm gonna stand by The Hookup because I actually was watching Sam from Sam Reads a Little today, and she talked about Drew Baylor. This is such a good sports romance. I would need to reread it to see if it's an all-time favorite, but I love this, and I really love, I think, book 4. The series is just really good. I love it. The Law of Moses I need to reread. So I love Amy Harmon. I have her in 2017, and then I also have her in 2019, I think. But The Law of Moses was really emotional, but I could not tell you the plot beyond he is kind of magical. He like has visions, I think. I don't even remember. But I know Amy Harmon writes really emotional ones, so this one I'd have to reread if I could call it a favorite or not. Right Where I Want You is a really great office romance. This one is really good. She works in like PR, and his magazine has a really bad reputation, so she comes in to try to fix it. I really enjoyed this one. This is the first one of 2018, so we are in 2018 right now, and that one was good. But The Surviving Trace, I think, is an all-time favorite. I adored this book. It's time traveling. It's hate to love, kind of love triangle. Well, it is love triangle. She's engaged and she gets sent back in time, and he detests her. It takes the place of someone, so like people think they know who she is, and it is just amazing. I need to finish the series because I haven't read the newer books, but so good. Birthday Girl, I'm gonna stand by, but it is something that I need to reread because I remember adoring this book. But again, just like Pump 57, I don't know if I could call it an all-time favorite anymore after seeing people's opinions on it because it's blown up so much. Because I read this, I believe, as an ARC before everybody was reading it, and I loved it, but I don't know. Stand by it, definitely. So what he always knew is Kandi Steiner's angsty love triangle, and it is between a woman, her husband, and a guy she was in love with in high school, and he's back in town. Her and her husband are on the rocks. I know they're having infertility issues. They're not communicating, and she sees this guy who is like, I love you and I will give you everything. And so it's a love triangle, and it was so angsty and everything I love, and I'm obsessed. But it's not an all-time favorite, but I'm obsessed. The Kiss Quotient used to be an all-time favorite. I think I would need to reread it, but I would say I would stand by it. I still really enjoy this book. When I read it in 2018, I have not read this book in so long, but I agree, like, this is a really good book. Do I put Kulti in all-time fave? I love Kulti. I'm surprised I don't have any more Mariana Zapata on this list. I don't have any more of her books that I put in my top 10, but Kulti is such a good soccer romance, athlete coach. I would say it's an all-time fave. Do I put, Raise is something I think I would need to reread. Raise is one of my first, like, super, super dark romances, and I absolutely loved this book. So good. He's an underground fighter. He was taken, do I put it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to keep it an all-time fave. This book, I don't need to reread it to know I love it. I do want to reread it at some point, but it is so good. So good. So dark. He escapes because he was forced full of drugs, fight to the death, and he escapes and goes after the person responsible for putting him in there. Moonshot, I stand by it, but I would love to reread it to see it's an all-time fave. This one is a baseball romance, and there's like a serial killer on the loose too, and there are time jumps, which is one of my favorite things in romances, and I do believe, though, she is in not a very good relationship, so please keep that in mind when she, like, gets in a relationship with someone. I have to reread that one, but I know I love it. You guys know my love for Gianna Darling started in 2018. This is another book that I read on vacation. I went to the Bahamas with my family and read by the pool, and I was obsessed with this series. So I've loved Gianna Darling for over 4 years now because she is amazing. Then we have Shatter Me. We have 2 more books left for 2018. Shatter Me is going to go into Take It Back. I don't know if I'm going to have any in What Was I Thinking? But Shatter Me, I don't think I would love it now. It was good when I read it. I mean, I was obsessed when I read it, but I don't think it would be a favorite anymore. YA, fantasy, I've just outgrown it. Any Black Dagger Brotherhood. I actually put books 2 through 5 on my top 10 of 2018. I cheated. This is when I discovered Black Dagger Brotherhood. I didn't realize it was that long ago, but it was because I was reading part of the series in 2019 during a Polycon, and that was my last Polycon I went to. So love, love, love the series. This is a disc book, one of my favorites. Then we go to 2019, which I feel like a lot more of these are going to be in the top because it wasn't too long ago and my taste really hasn't changed that much. I mean, look at it. My taste has barely changed since 2015 when I started this video. But Wolfsong, we're just going to pop that in all-time favorite. All-time favorite, paranormal romance, I'm obsessed. The Highwayman, all-time favorite historical romance. This 2019 was when I started getting into historicals, and 2020 is when I really became obsessed with historicals. So I have no more to say. It was just amazing. It's a little darker and I love it. I know Jess from Honest Fiction just read it and she enjoyed it, so that makes me happy that people are still reading this and loving it and giving historicals a chance. Next for 2019, I think I would have to Take Back the Bromance Book Club. I liked it, but I don't think about this book ever, and when I look at it, I do not think all-time favorite, or favorite even. So it was a good Marriage in Trouble. It was cute, and I think I liked it because of the hype, and like everyone was excited about it, and I was like, yeah, this is good, but The Bride Test, I will stick in Stand By It. I still really like this one. I don't know if I like this one better than The Kiss Quotient though, but it was a arranged marriage, and it was really good. I really liked it. Making Faces, I have to put an all-time favorite. We are really putting a lot in all-time favorite. Making Faces is, I was just talking about it in a recent actually live show, and it's just amazing, and I wish more people read it, but I read it 3 years ago, so I don't talk about it that much anymore, but this is one of my favorites. He went to war with his friends into the military and kind of like encouraged all them to come with him, and they all died, and he's the only one who comes back, and he is really scarred physically and emotionally, and he typically works at night because he doesn't want people to see him. He doesn't like interacting with people, and I believe she works at like somewhere next door to where he works and sees him a lot, and they bond and they fall in love, and I cried, sobbed. It's so good. Okay, so Marriage for One, I'm gonna keep in Stand By It. This is such a good romance, and It's a arranged marriage, and I can't believe I read it in 2019 because people are discovering it now and really enjoying this author, Ella Mays, but I really like it. Gravity Bus, without a doubt, is going to go into all-time fave. I just ordered the special edition. This one's another one that I cried reading. There's a few of these where I've cried reading, and it was just amazing, and I can't really tell you a lot about the plot without spoiling it, but it's also, he's off limits, but they fall in love anyways. John Matthews, Lover Mine, gotta go here. I need to keep up with the series. I'm like 3 or 4 books behind, but this is John Matthews' book. And we are waiting like 9 books for his book. Of course, I had to put it in all-time favorite. I loved him. Then Pestilence, I'm gonna put in Stand By It. A lot of people are discovering Laura Thalassa now, and I never finished the series. I read 1.5 books, and I never continued, but it's really good apocalyptic romance where the 4 horsemen are coming and ending the world. Praying for Rain, another kind of amidst the apocalypse book. I was obsessed with this as well. I was in definitely a very interesting reading mood in 2019 because it was Pestilence and Praying for Rain. This one, the apocalypse is happening. Everybody's been dreaming about like April 23rd that the world's gonna end, and so like society has gone into mayhem, and that date's approaching, and she meets a guy and they survive together. It's so good. No Exit, I'm gonna also keep. This is so bizarre. This is the only thriller on here, but I loved this book so much. It was on the edge of your seat. My dad read it and it's his favorite book, and so he told me to read it, and I loved it. I did not watch the show. I heard they changed a lot in the show that I don't think I would like, but so good. The Risk, I don't even think I need to reread this. I didn't love the spinoff series. I liked it, but I don't think I could say this is a favorite of mine. I know this is fake dating. I think I would enjoy it if I read it again, but I don't think it would be an all-time favorite anymore. Another one that when I think about it, I don't get excited about is the Happy Ever After playlist. I just like thinking about traditionally published romances. They don't make me excited anymore. And this one I liked, and I remember liking. He's a rock star. She lost her husband. They start texting, and it was really cute, but I do not have any desire to reread it. I don't think I would love it. Okay, but this is my exception. So to traditionally published romances, definitely take a hint, Dani Brown. Zafir is everything. Fake dating, super adorable. I am obsessed. Spoiler alert though, I think this is another one. I would take it back. I really enjoyed this book, but as a romance, I wasn't swooning over it. I wasn't obsessed with it. I like the characters and their story so much, especially the hero, because he does have dyslexia, and he really talked about that. He's an actor, but he loves writing and like talk about his journey with that, which I loved. I was so emotionally invested in these characters themselves, and I loved the heroine and how she was writing fan fiction and how she was standing up for being a plus size heroine and having her cosplay go viral and dealing with the repercussions of like really awful people on the internet. But I don't think their romance is my favorite, so I would take this back. I love this book, but I don't think it's a favorite anymore. I'm gonna have a hard time getting these up here. So we have Inevitable Conclusions, which is gonna go up here with all-time favorites because I love Christina C. Jones, and I love this book. It is a Friends to Lovers, super adorable. I love it. Beach Read, I'm going to stand by, I think, because I still love this one. It's Emily Henry. People are very polarizing when it comes to Emily Henry. I know, but this one I just really enjoyed. What more can I say? I just really enjoyed it. Okay, so a lot of these are just gonna go up into all-time favorites. We are into 2020. We were into 2020 with the Happy Ever After playlist. I can't get up here. Okay, Sea of Ruin, all-time favorite. It's amazing. We're not surprised. For Blood and Ash is not an all-time favorite, but I still really loved it. And I remember reading it. I like vividly remember sitting on my couch reading it and not being able to put it down, and told my sister to leave for something without me because I had to finish it. So addicted to this book, I would still stand by it. Truth or Dare, I stand by. I love Danielle Allen. One of her books this year is going to be on my top of the year. This one's really great. Friends to Lovers. It was really good. Ian McKenzie is going to go an all-time favorite. He is one of my favorite historical romances. I really do love this book so much. He is on the autism spectrum, but nobody knows that at the time, and they treat him horribly, but now he is an adult and deals a lot with his family and is in love with Beth. Well, he likes Beth and he wants to start a romance with her, and Beth is a widow. I do really want to reread this at some point, but I know for sure it's an all-time favorite. And then One Hot Italian Summer, I am going to stand by, though I don't think it's an all-time favorite, but I love this book so much. It is a single dad vacation romance. She lost her writing partner, is going to Italy to try to get inspiration back to write by herself, and it's just really good. So with my reading taste, not a lot has changed. Majority of the books are an all-time favorite or stand by it. We do have some that I need to reread or I take it back, but nothing that I'm like absolutely appalled why I would like it, because my reading taste hasn't changed that much. I think my reading taste has matured in the sense that I don't like young adult as much anymore or new adult anymore, and I was obsessed with YA and new adult like 2015, 2016, even into 2017. But overall, I definitely think I would reread the most in Stand By It. So even though I have the category need to reread, those are ones that I'm like, I don't know, I'm not super excited to reread them. They might end up being favorites, but these are ones that I'm like, I know that they're favorites, but are they all-time favorites? So I would definitely take some out of the Stand By It category to reread to see if they're all-time favorites. So that's the video. That was so much fun. Let me know, like I said, how long you've been following me, if you remember me talking about any of these books, and let me know if you've read any of these, what you think. If you disagree with any of my rankings of them, I would love to hear, and let me know if you want any more tier ranking videos. I would be more than happy to put them up for you, but that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.